Nick Underhill, neworleans.football. Nick, it is always our pleasure. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. How you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. I was thinking about this last night, and I was like, all right, well, what are some things that we want to make sure that we hit with Nick? And it's like we always just it's quarterback situation. Anytime you have a quarterback battle, it's always going to be the leader in the clubhouse. And we've talked about a lot of other positions. I was like, we hadn't talked a lot about is the guy they took 9th overall in Kelvin Banks Jr., right? We've talked about Penning maybe moving to guard, and we've talked about some of the shuffling on the offensive line. We haven't talked a lot about a top 10 player and an offensive tackle that we've talked about for a long time, but we hadn't talked about him since he's become a Saint, really. So I just really wanted to open it up. And what have you seen from him? What are you expecting from him after his first couple of days in a Saints uniform?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in all of our defense, we haven't talked about him a lot because they didn't do anything at all in these practices with an offensive line on the field. So it's just kind of easy to fixate on the quarterback and forget about the guy that's maybe arguably the most important player on the team right now. I feel like if Kelvin Banks hits, you have a foundational piece. Him and Fuaga together, you have your identity going forward, and kind of everything else can go wrong. And if you have that, you still at least have something to hang your hat on and something to build around. And your identity, all that stuff. And I'm optimistic about him. I mean, I think he's incredibly smart. I think it's hard to miss on a OT at 9. Now, granted, the Saints have found ways to miss on picks they shouldn't have missed on a lot over the years. But I like him. I think he's smart. I think he's picking things up. You watch him move. He looks athletic. I think he carries himself very maturely. He can. There's just some of those guys that can just really kind of explain the game and talk about it, and just it sounds smart and it gives you confidence in them and all that stuff. I think he's one of them guys, and I would be really surprised if he's not a good player right away. But yeah, I mean, that's everything for them. If Fuaga can take a little bit of a step next year, I do think that maybe some of his struggles last year got overlooked a bit because there was just an absolute disaster all the way around him. I think there's just some stuff that he can do a little bit better. But yeah, those two guys hit, man. I feel okay about everything. Shuck cannot be good. Rattler cannot be good. The defense, whatever. But at least you're looking back and you're saying, all right, two of the most expensive positions they've hit on, and this is the foundation going forward. I think Banks is going to be that type of guy, and I expect him to be impact from day one. I don't expect to see a ton of struggles. Some, I mean, obviously he's young, but he looks a little bit more, I don't know, it's tough to say that, but just kind of the way he carries himself, he's coming in with a little bit more maturity than some of their other first round picks that we've seen in recent years.
Yeah, and the person that they're going to be paving the way for, blocking for, we haven't talked to you a lot about him yet, is Alvin Kamara. I mean, a guy that's been, such a high performer for so long. I mean, the guy's going to be absolutely ancient this year. He's going to be turning 30 before the season starts. Tell me how you've seen, how you see him playing out in this Kellamore offense. Of course, we saw what he did with Saquon Barkley last year, reviving his career. Of course, a different type player than Kamara, but how do you see him fitting in, and what can we expect from him?
Yeah, I mean, first, him being 30, obviously, that's tough. I kind of have faith in how he's gonna age. One day it's just gonna happen and hit. But I spent a week with him last year, just at his house, where he gets all his work done, and he brings in his team of people and all that. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that he was on this table just getting worked on literally for 8 hours a day, just on a table, people working on him, doing stuff. He takes incredible care of his body, and I think that's going to help him. What's not going to help him is if he has as many touches as he did last year. I think if there's anything to be concerned about, it's that he had a career high in touches. I hope that there is another option at that position, someone that is worthy of carries, because I think you got to ramp that number down a little bit. And I think they put team first, all that stuff. But I do think keeping him upright and going for this year, next year. I mean, he's a core piece of a rebuilding team. You got him under contract. He isn't going anywhere. He's a guy that you want around, helping you set your culture and making sure that this is a guy that some of these young players can look at as they're doing this rebuild. he's kind of the last bridge to the past of, the old way of doing things to the new way. But I think he's going to be good to go, man. Like the thing with him, after 20, like the big issue, his yards before contact remain the same basically every single year. It's just the line deteriorated. Yep. And then, he's not getting those yards before contact. He's getting hit quicker. You go from 4.3 to 3.9 because that yards before contact is dropped, 0.3 of a yard. And there's the difference, like right there. If they can keep that up, like it went up a little bit last year, they started getting banged up on the line. You saw it dip again. I think as the line goes, he goes. And I think if you give him a little bit of space and that first guy hitting him is a linebacker, he still has that contact balance to bounce off those people and make something happen. But if it's, Jared Verse, like you're in trouble. And, I think, as the line goes, he'll go. And, yeah, Banks, Fuaga, I mean, that's the whole idea behind putting Penning at guard is that he's going to be a mauler and he's going to get you those yards before contact. In the run game, assuming he fits there, the pass pro, that's the big question. But if those guys are healthy and they're blocking for him, I think he's going to get every single yard and more. He always has. It's just kind of, the line just hasn't been good the last couple of years.
Nick, if I was to throw it to the other side, the defensive side of the football, give me two players, the most important young defender on this team and the most important vet on this team as far as these two guys need to show up if the Saints want to be who they expect to be, new coordinator, a lot of new pieces on defense.
Man, I'm worried about the defense, like big time.
Cool.
I get
awesome. Great.
Love
the
it.
Older player's easy. I think it's Demario. The young guy, I don't know. I kind of want to go wild card and say, like, if Alontae Taylor plays well, maybe they have a little bit of a building block there. If it might give them a guy that's worthy of a second contract, like that, those would be two really good things for them, going forward. I think he has the skill set to possibly be dynamic in the role that they want him to play in. We've seen, Staley's done some really interesting stuff with guys playing that nickel position. Jalen Ramsey moved inside for him with the Rams. He played really well there. Derwin James has had success there. Before Alontae went to the outside, there's this stat. It's like, I think it's called like the chaos metric or whatever, something the 33rd team like puts together. But it's like tackles for a loss, pass breakups, sacks, just a lot of, things that create havoc in a metric. And he was leading the league in that stat. And, he was getting a lot of sacks early on last year. I think if he can play well there and they can keep him in that role, like potentially he's a guy that I think has legitimate upside. Kool-Aid's another easy pick for that one. But like the guy that I'm betting on, young guy, I mean, I don't know. I think someone needs to kind of emerge there at this point. There's a lot of guys that it's like if he's good, it's a huge thing. Like Brian Brzee, if he plays better against the run, the pair with the sack ability, you kind of got a good player there maybe. Right now he's kind of a liability on first and second. So if that would change, that would be huge for him. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys that I think like have potential, haven't met it and could step up, but it's bleak on that side until like some of those things come into focus.
Nick, as we all know, like when you select somebody in the first 3 rounds, you expect a lot from them. I'm not saying they have to be superstars, but they got to give you something. Certainly as a second-round pick, you got to be able to contribute. You got to be able to be a guy that can be a starter, that can be a quality player on whichever side of the football. And so you probably know I'm going to Isaiah Foskey. Is it already just a punt on him? Like, is that just, hey, he's going to play some special teams, he's going to run out his rookie contract, and then that's just going to be it? And the only reason you don't cut him is because he's a second-round pick? Or is there anything that we can expect from him on the defensive side?
It looks like they're trying, they're trying to see if they can get him in the, some type of useful role. He's getting a lot of run in OTAs and minicamp. I found myself baffled by this one. Like 40th pick from Notre Dame, like real production. Like it's just it's mystifying to me that there's, I can see like it not living up to potential, but where it's at just kind of makes no sense. Like this isn't San Antonio or wherever the hell they've gotten some of these other guys from. Like this is a real player from Notre Dame, like playing against real teams with real sacks against real opponents. And he was the sack record setter at Notre Dame. Like that, That's supposed to mean something. I thought that was maybe the safest pick they had made in years, and then it just doesn't. You kind of saw a little bit of like unrefinedness to his game when you watched him. Like, okay, but if he adds like this or that, like maybe there's something like really good here. But the floor on this blows my mind. I think he's at that do or die point. Like you kind of got to see something or you let him go. I think one of the things that might save him though is if he doesn't live up to expectation is like who's taking his job. Like that's kind of the issue on the defense. Like if it's not him, like who else? Like they don't have anybody at that position. They don't have, I don't really feel like they got the top end talent. They don't have the depth. Like it's a tough existence right now for them. So, maybe. I mean,
maybe
maybe he's on the team. Maybe he's not. I don't know. But I'm not expecting anything from him though. I think the idea of him putting it together is maybe sailed a little bit for me. Like I got to see it. I'm not banking on anything from him at all.